Ethan Walker had worked too damn hard to finally have a place of his own. After years of apartment living, thin walls, inconsiderate neighbors, and rent hikes that made his blood boil, he had finally bought a house. And not just any house. His sanctuary. A cozy, quiet home on the outskirts of a suburban neighborhood, sitting just outside the reach of the dreaded homeowners association. That last part? That was intentional. Ethan had done his research. He knew how bad HOAs could be: neighbors fined over mailbox colors, threats over unauthorized flower beds, entire wars waged over holiday decorations. He wanted no part of it. So, when he found this house, just beyond the HOA's jurisdiction, he snatched it up without hesitation. No rules, no nosy committees, just peace and freedom. The first thing he did? Upgrade the backyard. For months, he planned and saved, picturing every detail. When it was finally done, it was perfect: a sleek in-ground pool, a spacious deck with built-in lighting, and a tall privacy fence to keep prying eyes out. It was everything he had dreamed of. His escape. And for a while, life was good. Until Karen Whitmore showed up. The first time he saw her, she was standing at the edge of his driveway, clipboard in hand, staring into his backyard. He knew that look. He had seen it before in nosy landlords and bitter office managers. It was the look of a person who thought they owned everything they laid eyes on. "Good afternoon," she called out, all fake cheerfulness. "I was just admiring your lovely pool." Ethan sighed. He already knew where this was going. Ethan leaned against his deck railing, coffee in hand, watching Karen like she was some kind of invasive species. He had heard about her, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood HOA, the type of person who thought a clipboard and an attitude gave her authority over other people's lives. He hadn't been here long, but he'd seen her patrolling the streets, marching up to houses, nitpicking lawns, scribbling down violations. Like a traffic cop with a quota to fill, he had thought he was safe from her nonsense. He was wrong. "I appreciate the compliment," Ethan said, keeping his voice neutral, "but this is private property." Karen's smile didn't waver, but there was a sharpness to her gaze, a certain entitlement that made his skin itch. "Oh, of course," she said, flipping through her clipboard as if she were looking for some kind of technicality. "But you see, Mr. Walker, your property is visible from the street, which means it impacts the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And under the HOA's community regulations, any visible amenities that enhance property values should be accessible to all residents." Ethan blinked. "Come again?" Karen's expression remained perfectly smug. "Your pool," she said, gesturing dramatically behind him, "is a luxury that should be shared with the community." For a moment, Ethan just stared at her. Surely, she was joking. No one could actually be this delusional, but as she stood there, arms folded like a dictator surveying her land, he realized she was absolutely serious. "That's not how property ownership works," he said, rubbing his temple. "I paid for the land. I paid for the pool. I paid for the maintenance. This isn't community property. It's mine." Karen let out a condescending chuckle, like he was some naive child who just didn't understand the rules of the world. "I understand your confusion," she said, voice dripping with patronization. "Many homeowners feel that way at first, but the HOA has worked very hard to maintain high property values in this neighborhood. You benefit from that. It's only fair that you contribute back." Ethan actually laughed. "So because you like my pool, you think you get to use it?" Karen's smile tightened. "It's about fostering a sense of community, Ethan. You wouldn't want to be seen as selfish, would you?" That was it. That was the moment Ethan realized exactly who he was dealing with. Karen wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous, the kind of person who would make up rules on the spot and bully anyone who didn't bend to her will. "Well," Ethan said, picking up his coffee, "good thing I don't care what the HOA thinks." And with that, he turned and walked inside, leaving Karen fuming on his driveway. But if Ethan thought that was the end of it, he was sorely mistaken. The very next morning, an official-looking letter from the HOA arrived in his mailbox. He didn't even have to open it to guess what it said. Violation notice. Karen wasn't just trying to intimidate him, she was trying to force him into compliance. He tossed the letter into the trash without a second glance. That should have been the end of it. Then another letter arrived. And another. And then, the flyers, It was a neighbor, a middle-aged guy named Greg, who brought him the first one. He held it out with a bemused expression. I think you should see this. Ethan took the laminated flyer and nearly dropped his coffee. Exciting news. The community now has a pool, thanks to your wonderful HOA. Below the text was a picture of his backyard, his pool. His deck. His private property, advertised like a damn public park. What the hell is this? Ethan growled. Greg shifted awkwardly. Karen's been handing them out all morning. She's telling people the HOA made a deal with you. Ethan's blood boiled. Karen hadn't just tried to intimidate him, she had outright lied, And sure enough, that weekend, they came. At exactly 10 a.m., a crowd of families showed up at his front gate, parents with toddlers. Teenagers carrying pool floats. Someone had even set up a snack table, like this was some kind of organized event. Ethan stepped onto his deck, arms crossed, staring down at the chaos unfolding in front of his house. A woman near the front, Linda, one of Karen's lackeys smiled brightly. Good morning. Are you going to open the gate? The kids are so excited. Ethan narrowed his eyes. This isn't a public pool. Linda's smile faltered. But the HOA said. I don't give a damn what the HOA said, Ethan snapped. This is my property. If you or anyone else tries to climb that fence, I'm calling the cops. The crowd erupted into murmurs, some were confused. Some were annoyed. And then, from the back of the crowd, Karen appeared. She stormed up to the front gate, fuming. Ethan, this is ridiculous, she snapped. These people are just trying to enjoy the community you live in. Stop being difficult. Ethan clenched his jaw. Karen, this is private property. Karen scoffed. That's a selfish way to look at it. Ethan took a slow, deep breath and then, very deliberately, he pulled out his phone and started recording. Say that again, Karen, he said. Tell me exactly why you think my private property belongs to the HOA. For the first time, Karen hesitated. A flicker of uncertainty passed across her face, but then she squared her shoulders, voice sharp with irritation. If you refuse to cooperate, I will take legal action. Ethan smirked. You do that. And with that, he turned and walked inside, leaving Karen and her angry mob standing outside his locked gate, Ethan had thought, hoped that after shutting down Karen's ridiculous claim to his pool and catching her lies on camera, she would back off, too embarrassed to keep pushing her nonsense. He should have known better. By Monday morning, a bright red violation notice was taped to his front door. Ethan ripped it off and scanned the text, his irritation morphing into outright disbelief. Notice of noncompliance. Failure to provide proper access to the community pool. Unauthorized installation of security gates restricting public entry. Violation of HOA-approved recreational property guidelines. Fines will begin accumulating at $100 per day until compliance is achieved. Ethan read the notice twice, then a third time. It was so absurd he almost laughed. He wasn't in the HOA. They had no authority over him. What did they think they were going to do, fine him into submission? Shaking his head, he dialed the number listed at the bottom. It rang 3 times before an overly cheerful, painfully fake voice answered. Hello, you've reached the Springdale HOA office. This is Karen Whitmore. How can I assist you today? Ethan smirked. Perfect. Hey, Karen, he said, unable to hide the amusement in his voice. Got your fun little notice on my door. Just one question, how exactly do you plan to find someone who isn't in your HOA? There was a beat of silence, just long enough for Ethan to picture her clenching her jaw. Then came the unmistakable sound of paper shuffling, like she was searching for an excuse. Well, she said, her tone forcibly light, technically, Ethan, you reside within an HOA-regulated area, which means you're still expected to uphold our standards. Ethan chuckled, yeah, see, that's where you're wrong. My house is outside the HOA's boundaries. I checked before I bought it. Never signed an agreement. You have zero authority over me. Karen let out a condescending chuckle, the kind people use when they think they're smarter than you. You may not have signed the official paperwork, she said, her voice syrupy sweet, but that doesn't change the fact that your home is a visible part of the community. And the HOA has the right to enforce standards that benefit everyone. Ethan rolled his eyes. Karen, let's say for a second I actually gave a damn about your imaginary rules. Why the hell would my private pool be considered community property? Oh, Ethan, she sighed, like he was just too dumb to understand. You have to see the bigger picture. The HOA is all about sharing resources. If everyone were selfish with their luxuries, what kind of community would we be fostering? By keeping your pool private, you're depriving your neighbors of something that could benefit them all. Ethan laughed. Out loud, ***, so let me get this straight, you think I should let random strangers into my backyard just because you say so? That's what being a good neighbor is all about, Karen replied smugly. Now, I expect to see those gates unlocked by this weekend, or we'll have no choice but to take further action. Ethan's amusement vanished. Oh yeah? And what exactly does further action mean, Karen? Her voice lost its fake cheerfulness. Let's just say you don't want to find out. And then, ***, she hung up, ***. Ethan stared at his phone, stunned. Was she threatening him over a pool? By the end of the week, he had his answer. One morning, as he was sipping his coffee, his phone pinged with an alert from his security cameras. When he checked the feed, his stomach dropped. 2 men were inside his backyard. Not teenagers. Grown men, one of them, ***, Greg Thompson ***, Karen's favorite HOA lackey, ***, had a clipboard ***, and was taking notes like this was some kind of official inspection. The other one? He was trying to jiggle the handle to Ethan's back door. Ethan didn't even hesitate. He grabbed his phone and called the cops. By the time the police arrived, the trespassers were gone, but Ethan had it all on camera. Clear as day. When he filed a report, the officer actually raised an eyebrow at the footage. This an HOA dispute? He asked knowingly. Ethan sighed. You have no idea. The officer shook his head. You'd be surprised how often we deal with this kind of thing. We'll keep a record of this in case it escalates. And escalate, it did. Later that afternoon, as Ethan was installing a reinforced security gate, a group of angry neighbors approached. You know, this is really selfish of you, a woman snapped. We're just trying to make this a better place to live. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow and turned to face them. By breaking into my yard? A man, one of Karen's longtime followers, ***, crossed his arms, ***, we were just checking safety regulations. What if someone gets hurt because you didn't follow HOA pool guidelines? Ethan laughed incredulously. What part of private property do you people not understand? The woman shook her head. This neighborhood used to be about community. Now people like you come in, put up fences, and act like you're too good for everyone else. Ethan's patience snapped. I work my ass off so I can have a place where I can enjoy some damn peace and quiet. I didn't pay for a pool so a bunch of random people could treat it like a public rec center. If you all want a pool so badly, why don't you petition the HOA to build one instead of trying to steal mine? That's not the point, the man snapped. It's about neighborhood spirit. Ethan smirked. Yeah? Well, my spirit says get off my property. The crowd dispersed, grumbling under their breath, but Ethan could feel it. They weren't done. And he was right. That weekend, he was jolted awake by the sound of sirens. When he ran outside, 2 police cars were parked in front of his house. Karen stood in the driveway, smiling smugly. An officer stepped forward. Sir, we received a report of a domestic disturbance and an unauthorized structure violating community regulations. Ethan's jaw clenched. Of course. Karen clasped her hands dramatically. Yes, officer, we've been trying to talk to Mr. Walker about his refusal to comply with the HOA. He's been aggressive toward residents, and his pool is a safety hazard. Ethan exhaled slowly. He looked at the officer. Unless you have a warrant, you're not stepping foot on my property. The officer nodded. That's fair. He turned to Karen. Ma'am, unless you have actual legal authority over this home, there's nothing we can do. For the first time, Karen looked uncertain. The officers left. Karen stormed off, her entire plan backfiring spectacularly. Ethan watched her retreat, shaking his head. She was getting desperate. And when people like Karen get desperate, they get reckless. Ethan had always considered himself a patient man. He could put up with a lot. He had dealt with bad landlords, incompetent bosses, and more than his fair share of pushy salespeople. But Karen Whitmore had tested every last ounce of his restraint. The police may have dismissed her ridiculous complaints, but she wasn't done. If anything, being humiliated in front of law enforcement had only made her more determined to win. He realized just how far she was willing to go the next morning. As Ethan stepped outside to grab his mail, he froze mid-step. His security gate, the one he had just reinforced after the trespassing incident, was covered in HOA-branded chains and padlocks, a fresh sign had been nailed directly into the wood frame. Community pool, access restricted. Pool hours, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., weekends only. Contact HOA for reservations. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. She wasn't even pretending anymore. She had literally locked him out of his own backyard. Yanking out his phone, he dialed the number he had memorized by heart. Karen picked up on the second ring, her voice brimming with forced politeness. Hello. This is Karen Whitmore with the Springdale HOA office. How can I assist you today? Karen, Ethan said, his patience long gone, you put padlocks on my gate. Oh, those? She chirped, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Yes, well, since you refused to comply, we had to secure the property for the safety of the neighborhood. We can't have people sneaking in and using the pool unsupervised. It's just a liability issue, you understand. Ethan rubbed his temples. Karen, let me make this simple. You locked me out of my own yard. That's illegal, She sighed dramatically. Ethan, you have to stop being so difficult. The community is bigger than just one person, we need to think about the children. Ethan barked out a laugh. Oh, screw off, Karen. You don't care about the children, you care about control, and right now, you're about 5 minutes away from me cutting these locks and reporting you for trespassing. A pause. Then, a barely contained huff. Well, if you're going to be hostile, then I guess we'll have to escalate things further. And with that, she hung up. Ethan stared at his phone, then at the chains. Escalate further? What was she going to do next? File an eviction notice for a house she didn't own, He didn't waste time. Marching into his garage, he grabbed a pair of bolt cutters, walked back to the gate, and snipped through the padlocks like they were made of butter. the locks clattered to the ground, and Ethan swung the gate open, shaking his head. But as soon as he walked into his backyard, he realized, it wasn't just the gate that Karen had messed with, His pool furniture was missing, his grill had been moved, even his deck chairs were gone, and then he spotted it, a brand new HOA-issued sign drilled into his fence, Pool regulations, all residents must sign in with the HOA. No outside food or drink allowed. Lifeguard on duty, coming soon. Ethan's blood boiled. Not only had she locked him out, but she had actually entered his yard and tried to turn it into an official HOA facility. That was it. Time to go nuclear. That night, Ethan took action. First, he installed a new security system, motion-activated sprinklers, floodlights, and high-definition cameras covering every inch of his property. Second, he printed every single legal document proving his home was outside the HOA's jurisdiction and emailed them directly to his lawyer. Third, he started preparing a special surprise for Karen. The next morning, the real war began. At exactly 10 a.m., Karen returned, this time with 2 HOA board members in tow, Ethan was ready. He stepped onto his deck, arms crossed, as Karen pointed dramatically at the gate. There, she announced, looking smug. He's destroying HOA property. One of the board members, an older man with glasses and a nervous expression, frowned. Karen, didn't you say his house was part of the HOA? Karen's smile faltered slightly. It's adjacent, which means it falls under our jurisdiction. Ethan smirked. Actually, no, it doesn't. He held up a printed copy of his deed, and since you seem to have a hard time understanding legal boundaries, let me make this very clear, he turned to the board members. This woman has been harassing me for weeks. She's falsely claimed ownership of my property, illegally entered my yard, stolen my furniture, and now she's trying to force fines on a home that's not even in her HOA. Karen turned bright red. That's not. Ethan cut her off, and it gets better. Last night, I installed new security cameras. Karen froze. Ethan pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and smiled. Guess what they caught? Footage of you trespassing in my yard, moving my stuff. Trying to make it look like a community pool. The nervous board member paled. Wait, you actually went into his yard? Karen stammered. I was just making sure everything was up to safety standards. Ethan grinned. Oh, I'm sure the police will love that excuse. Karen blanched. And then, as if on cue, the HOA's own lawyer arrived, A tall, no-nonsense woman in a sharp business suit stepped out of her car and walked straight toward Ethan, completely ignoring Karen. Mr. Walker, she asked, holding out a folder. We received your legal complaint. After reviewing the case, I can confirm that your home is not within HOA jurisdiction. Karen's mouth dropped open. Furthermore, the lawyer continued, Miss Whitmore's actions do not reflect the HOA's official stance, and we will be handling this matter internally. Karen sputtered. What, you work for the HOA? You work for me. The lawyer glared at her. I work for the association, Karen. Not you. Ethan could barely contain his laughter. The tables had officially turned. Karen's entire face burned red. She turned to the board members desperately. You can't do this. The older man shook his head. You lied to us, Karen. And now we're on the hook for legal damages. Karen opened her mouth, closed it, then turned pale. And then, as if the universe had one last gift for Ethan, 2 uniformed officers stepped out of a squad car, One of them approached, looking straight at Karen. Miss Whitmore, we need you to come with us. Karen stumbled back. You can't do this, I am the HOA. I demand to speak to a lawyer. The officer nodded. That's exactly what you'll be doing. At the station. And just like that, Karen Whitmore was arrested. With Karen finally out of the picture, Ethan experienced something he hadn't felt in months: peace. No more ridiculous notices taped to his door. No more entitled neighbors demanding access to his property. No more Karen. But the fallout from her downfall was just as satisfying as the battle itself. The HOA board, now in full damage control mode, scrambled to clean up the mess she had left behind. Years of fraudulent fines, illegal rule changes, and shady financial transactions had put the HOA under official county investigation. Homeowners who had been too afraid to speak up before were now demanding refunds and calling for major policy changes. Mr. Harris, one of Karen's former critics, was elected as the new HOA president. Unlike Karen, he actually cared about fairness. "The first thing we're doing," he announced at a community meeting, "is rolling back every stupid rule Karen put in place. No more fines for mailbox colors. No more paint restrictions. And if anyone wants a damn pool, they can have a damn pool." The crowd cheered. Ethan didn't attend the meeting. He was too busy enjoying his now 100% private backyard. Meanwhile, Karen's personal life collapsed. Facing multiple charges for fraud, trespassing, and embezzlement, she had no way to pay her mounting legal fees. But the real poetic justice? She had been so obsessed with controlling others that she had forgotten to pay her own HOA dues. When the dust settled, her house went into foreclosure. The final blow came when she tried to move into another HOA-controlled neighborhood. Word of her infamous reputation had spread online, and every single HOA she applied to rejected her. She was officially blacklisted. The day she moved out, Ethan watched from his deck, sipping a cold drink. Her once pristine lawn was now covered in boxes, trash bags, and furniture. As she stormed toward her car, she spotted him and froze. Her face twisted with rage. "You think you've won, don't you?" Ethan raised his glass. "Oh, I know I did." She turned, fists clenched, and drove away. For the first time since moving in, the neighborhood felt different. Lighter. Happier. People were talking to each other instead of glaring over HOA disputes. Instead of controlling residents with fines and threats, they started helping each other. And at the next community barbecue, Ethan, the man who took down the HOA tyrant, was the guest of honor. As the sun set, he leaned back in his chair, finally at peace. And just for good measure, he installed one last sign on his fence. "Private property, Karen not welcome." Have you ever felt powerless against HOA, or Karen, rules? Share your experiences below. Let's see who had it worse.